Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Dorfman here. I guess I am a father, mentor, influencer, and I guess I think I'm brilliant. Anyhow, I am a cosmetic dentist and philanthropist, and you can catch me this week on this episode of The Jesse T Show.
Dr. Bill, welcome to The Jesse T Show.
Thank you, Jesse T.
My pleasure, brother. It's been a little bit of a great brewing of conversation, and the powers that be put us together. And so I'm looking forward to sharing your journey with a couple people in the universe that haven't heard it just yet. So if you would, just give us some context on who you are, what you do, and all that's going on in your world.
And you only have 30 minutes? You kidding me? I mean, what do you mean who I am? I mean, each one of those is like 2 or 3 hours. Ask me what you want to know and I'll answer.
So tell us how you got started and what you're doing.
How I got started in what? I mean, I do like 15 different things. As a dentist, as a philanthropist, as a father, as a, got started as what?
As a brilliant dentist, let's start there.
All right. As a brilliant dentist, I mean, thank you for the brilliant part, but it all happened when I was a little guy. I fell down and I knocked out my baby teeth, and we had a great family dentist. And instead of being scared, I really thought, wow, this is such a cool thing that he could do, like put people back together. So I want to do that. And it just stuck at the age of 3. And so I just followed this career path to become a dentist. And it was really cool. I graduated dental school. I was one of the youngest graduates ever. I was like 23, almost 24 when I graduated dental school. And I'm a doctor, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to just settle down and have a practice and be stuck in one location the rest of my life. So I heard about a residency program in Switzerland. There were 400 applicants and only one position. There was no way I should have ever gotten that. But I did something that we teach in my LEAP program. And LEAP is a motivational leadership program for high school and college kids. And one of the things I really stress is that successful people will do the things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do. And so I had every instructor in my dental school write me letters of recommendation, and they were excellent letters. You know how I know, Jesse?
Tell me.
I wrote them all. See, I would say, can you write me a letter? And they're like, oh, gosh, I don't want to write another letter. I said, look, I'll write it. Just personalize it. They're like, great. So I wrote them all. And I realized that was getting me nowhere. So then I started calling the director, and I realized that was getting me nowhere. So one day, and I tell kids at LEAP that you will have life-defining moments. Sometimes you plan them, sometimes you don't. I did not plan this. I don't even know where it came from. But while I was on the phone with him, I said, can I take you to lunch? Because I had heard that that was a good thing to do. Problem was, he was in Switzerland. I was in San Francisco. And that's what he said. He goes, yeah, but you're in San Francisco and I'm in Switzerland. I'm like, no problem. I'll fly there. Big problem. I was broke. So I borrowed money. I flew out and he hired me. And I was the only person of the 400 applicants, I think, that actually flew out and did that. So I got hired. And it was awesome. It was a transformational period in my life. I was young. I was single. I lived in the hospital housing. I got to ski every weekend. I learned to speak French. Je peux pas parler français, mais maintenant je peux parler français. I mean, it was an amazing experience for me.
Beautiful, brother. So there's a lot in that one story, and in terms of the whatever it takes mentality that every entrepreneur, every successful entrepreneur should have. Where was that instilled in you? Did you have a thought leader in your life? Was it a parent? Was it a mentor? Was it a coach? Or was it just something that was innately built in you to say, you know what? I see this shiny object. I'm going to chase after it. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. Plus innovation. Where did all that come from?
I honestly think a lot of it was really innate. I mean, look, I started working when I was 5 years old. I've never stopped. I used to pull weeds for 25 cents an hour in the neighborhood. And, from there, I, did the old paper route. And then I was a janitor at my mother's nursery school. And then when I was old enough, I got a job as a box boy and then an ice cream server at Swenson's. And then I was an escort for UCLA. I would drive dignitaries around. I mean, I've never, ever not worked in my life. And, and not only did I not, have a period where I didn't work, but I always worked hard. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I will work harder than you any day of the week.
Those are bold words. Have you ever heard the name David Goggins?
Yes.
Can you outwork David?
I work harder than him.
You outwork David Goggins?
Oh, yeah. In my sleep.
Okay. All right. Wonder if there's a way to put that to the test in the future, but that's a beautiful mindset. It's all about mindset. It's all about pushing yourself and having that, for some people it's innate. Some people, they're born with something that pushes them and drives them. And you also have to have the ability to seek out those where you can get doors opened. And so once you kind of adjusted to this, I guess, lifestyle of Switzerland, learning French and skiing every weekend and working your ass off and, making connections, what was the next big pivot from there? Were you there for some time or did you come back to the States to start your practice?
Well, I mean, the next big pivot for me was moving back to the States. And when I did, how do you start a cosmetic dental practice in Beverly Hills, California? I know how you do it.
Tell us.
You copy genius. So what I did was I found the 5 most successful cosmetic dentists in LA. I called them up and I said, can I shadow you? And I walked into their offices. I spent a week in each of these offices and I was just a sponge. I mean, I just soaked in everything from the way they talked to their patients, the way they collected money, the way they presented treatment. I mean, everything. And I made this notebook. And then I opened my practice and did it better because I had the knowledge of 5 independent guys who were all incredibly successful. And I took the best of each of theirs. And I would say within 2 years, I had a busier practice than anybody in the Beverly Hills area.
So there's a couple pieces I want to tease out there. Number one, what were the most important things that you learned in terms of a good example? And I think for people that listen to this, that are entrepreneurs, that are executives, the people that want to learn from some of the best, what were the good examples of a bad example? Like, what did you say I would never do in my practice? I would never do, period, that kind of taught you on your mission of becoming who you are today?
I'll tell you the best thing. In the middle is Dr. Stanley Vogel. We lost Stanley several years ago. He was the cosmetic dentist in Beverly Hills. And what I learned from Stanley has nothing to do with dentistry. It's all about relationships. It's all about communicating with people and just, I didn't grow up with celebrities. I grew up poor. We had nothing. The first day I was in his office, I saw Flip Wilson, who was like the biggest name in comedy at the time, Senator Tunney, Linda Evans, who was star of Dynasty. I mean, these are all, back in but every day was like that, where it was like senators, kings, queen, I was never around these kind of people. And what I learned from Stanley was how to talk to people that, were influencers in the world. And it was a magical experience for me. So that was probably the most valuable lesson I learned from, a culmination of the 5 dentists that I observed. The worst thing I learned was probably there was a dentist that had the worst bedside manner I'd ever seen in my life, to the point where I was shocked. I mean, shocked. Like, he picked up an instrument and there was not blood on it, like a watermark. And he screamed and threw it at the wall. Now, fortunately, the patient was asleep, but still, I was in the room. His assistant was in the room and he acted like a complete jerk. And we walked into the hall and I said, Is he always like that? She goes, yeah. I go, why do you stay? You should quit. So that was the best and the worst.
Yeah, it's interesting how, relationships are everything. Relationships, they're really the currency of the world. I mean, having someone to shake a hand with, do business with is much more important these days than, like you said, being the smartest guy or gal in the room. That's important, being smart and being able to be competent in your line of industry. But at the same time, if you don't know someone to do business with, what's the point? And then I think the other piece of attitude, this is something I learned many years ago in an old sales career, was attitude was everything. And we were outside doing outside sales, cold call, going door to door, getting crapped on all day, looking to find a handful of people that were excited about what we were doing. And if you didn't have a good attitude, you were done. And I think that when it comes to attitude is everything. It's how you look at life. It's how you, like yourself, you're into business, into working out, into philanthropy. How you show up in the world is everything. So those are two important keystones. And honestly, the poor lesson, the one where you saw someone that was having a bad attitude and someone who was in business and not really operating the right way, that's just as powerful as the good stuff. And so now you're in your practice, and is it a quick start for you with the way that you were operating in your practice? Was there some speed bumps in terms of as an entrepreneur, some growing pains, or were you off to the races from the beginning?
No, I mean, I hit the ground running. I did things that other people weren't doing. First of all, I was really fortuitous. A woman I went to high school with came in. She needed a lot of dental work. And she said, can I barter with you? I'm like, well, what do you do? She said, I'm a publicist. I'm like, what's that? She goes, well, I can get you in magazines and newspapers and this and that. To be honest with you, I wasn't really sold, but I was like, I felt bad for her and she needed the work. So I'm like, okay, do your thing. Well, lo and behold, within 2 months, she had me listed as the best cosmetic dentist in LA in all these publications. She would send in all the editors and the staff and the people that worked at these magazines. I would give them free cleanings and, meet them. And I started doing dental work on them and they wrote beautiful things about me. And so from the get-go, I was incredibly busy. The other thing I did, and nobody did this, was I advertised, and at the time that was like a dirty word, advertising, you're a doctor. I'm like, yeah, I'm also broke ass poor and I need to support my grandparents and my parents. So I need to make money, and so I advertise. I mean, ethically, but I advertise. People didn't do that back then, so now I start ending up in magazines and newspapers, on TV. I'm advertising, and it starts to build a little steam. And then for me, I think the real tipping point in my career was, Jesse, I've always had this weird phenomenon, and you can call it the universe. I don't, but a lot of people do. Every time I really commit to doing something purely for philanthropy, it ends up being so fortuitous for me, like beyond my imagination. So this is a funny story. I'm at the gym. A woman walks up to me and says, would you like to raise money for children's cancer research? Well, I wasn't wealthy at the time, but I mean, everybody could give a little, right? So I'm like, sure. She goes, you are a dentist, right? I'm like, yeah. She goes, and you're single, right? I'm like, yeah, and that's weird. She goes, well, we're doing a bachelor auction and we need 10 guys for 1,000 women and we're going to sell you at a hotel. This was in the 80s. I'm like, all right, whatever. The auction was horrible and stupid and humiliating. But the guy in line behind me was Robert Heyman. Robert Heyman is the son of Fred Heyman. Fred Heyman started Beverly Hills and Giorgio Cosmetics. And so Robert and I became best friends and still are. He helped me create Discus Dental. We created the world's largest tooth whitening company from zero to over $1.3 billion in sales. I invented Zoom, not video conferencing, Zoom tooth whitening. And it was an amazing ride. And, that was a really, really, really big thing in my life. But the thing that really propelled it to the next level was ABC's Extreme Makeover. Here I am right around 2003. And ABC comes up with it. It was one of the very first reality shows where they wanted to give people transformations, and I got a screen test. I went in and I got hired. And it was an amazing experience because prior to that, Jesse, dentistry had never, ever, ever been highlighted in a very positive light in the media. I mean, Little Shop of Horrors, Marathon Man, I could go on and on and on. Every Thursday night on primetime TV, this is the first time dentistry is ever on primetime TV, I get to show the whole world all the magical, beautiful things we could do with transforming a smile. And it was huge. They say cosmetic dentistry grew by 30% in 1 year from that show. I mean, it was amazing. And, every single person on that show got paid. The plastic surgeons, the hairstylists, the makeup artists, the every except the dentist. I did it for free. And I'll tell you why. Another life-defining moment. We had the pilot. I did 3 Zoom whitenings. That was it. And they were really impressed. And then the show gets picked up for 22 episodes. Well, 22 episodes, first episode, first patient, she needed 20 veneers, 10 uppers, 10 lowers. It was about $30,000 at the time. I sent an invoice to ABC and they freaked out. They're like, Doc, we had no idea it was this expensive. I go, well, it is. They said, well, can you just do 3 veneers? I'm like, no. Like what, every other tooth? I'm like, no, she needs 20. I said, I'll make a deal with you. I'll do all the dentistry for free under 2 conditions, 3 conditions. Number 1, I'm the only dentist. Number 2, you highlight Zoom whitening in every episode. And number 3, you give Da Vinci Dental credit for every case I do because I don't want to get stuck with a $10,000 lab bill when I'm not making any money. And they said, yes. That would never, ever, ever happen on reality TV today. The exposure that we got on that show, from me being on that show for 3 seasons, was priceless. I mean, priceless. Our company grew and grew and grew. We 2 million, 4 million, 8 million. We kind of plateaued at like 76 million. That first year I was on Extreme Makeover, we did 101 million.
Wow.
The next year we did 136. And the last year I was on the show, we did almost $200 million in sales as a result of the exposure we got. So ABC didn't pay me, but it was okay.
2.5 times revenue in 3 years. Any business would be ecstatic. That's a rocket ship, brother. And so I think that the narrative there kind of ties back to having the balls to be a trendsetter and not fear failure. And you're in the transformation business and you transform the landscape of dentistry in terms of marketing and how it's viewed and the sexiness of it.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. When kids come to my elite program, if I can only get them to walk away with these 2 ideas, I feel like I did my job. We touched on the first one a little bit. The second one I'm going to surprise you with. The first one is, don't wait for opportunities in life, make them. If I meet another millennial who tells me they're waiting for the universe to show them something, I want to just scream, like, the universe is really busy. We've got a pandemic. We've got a lot of other stuff going on. The universe doesn't care about you at all. You need to care about you. The second thing I want to say is when you get an opportunity, don't take it. Master it. It's a big difference.
Expand
when ABC put me on Extreme Makeover, dentistry, great. TV, not so good. If you watch the first 2 or 3 episodes, they literally should have fired me. That's how bad I was. But I was smart enough to know how bad I was. So what I do, I took acting classes, hosting classes, teleprompting classes. I worked with the woman who trained the kids on American Idol. She put me in a room and did mock interviews with real interviewers to teach me how to do what we're doing right now. This was not natural for me. I was a nerdy dentist. I didn't do TV. I didn't understand that stuff. So, it's really about taking opportunities and maximizing them and making them everything they can be. And yeah, our company grew and grew and grew, and it was a beautiful thing. And we ended up selling our company to Philips. It was a strategic sale in 2010. And one of the crazy things is when kids come to LEAP, we have this thing called the 10 culture, where I tell the kids in the very first half hour that they're at LEAP, I say, listen, when you woke up this morning, whether you think you did this or not, you put a number on your head. 1's the lowest, 10's the highest. Say, how many of you didn't put a 10 on your head? These kids raise their hand. I'm like, why? Who picked the number? You. Did you have to do a test? Did you have to do anything? No. I said, wipe it off and put a 10 on there. I said, I want you to walk like a 10, talk like a 10, act like a 10. But most importantly, and this is something as a parent, you need to really stress for your kids, surround yourself with other 10s. Because if you're trying to be a 10 and all your friends are 2s, I have news for you. Not going to happen, right? Ironically, are you ready for this? Maybe this is the universe. We sold Discus Dental on 10/10/10 at 10 a.m.
Beautiful.
October 10th, 2010 at 9 a.m. The merger documents came in. I waited till exactly 10 because I'm anal compulsive. Now I could have waited till 10:10, but I didn't even think of it at the time. I signed it. And you know what, Jesse? In that pen stroke, my whole life changed. I always knew as a dentist, I'd make a good living. I knew I'd be comfortable. I never imagined what it would be like to grow a company to $1.3 billion in sales and sell it. It's like next level. And, it really affords you the opportunity to do a lot of great things in the world that you couldn't do before. And I'll tell you something, I wake up every day the happiest, most grateful person I know, because I really am. I mean, no matter rain, sunshine, I'm a happy camper. And if any of you or your listeners have kids that, would like to go to LEAP, the next program is July 18th to the 24th. We will have a live portion of the program at UCLA for kids that are vaccinated. Well, we usually have 450. We'll probably have about 50 kids there. But I'll have 10,000 kids virtually. So it's an amazing program. And we get great speakers. I've had Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins, Michael Strahan, Paula Abdul, Kathy Bates, Apollo Ono, our mayor, Eric Garcetti. Amazing people come and just share their wisdom and their experience with these kids and teach them how to be successful, which they, by the way, don't teach you in college, but we do.
Beautiful, brother. I love the whole coming full circle with, as a self-stated poor kid, and from one poor kid from Boston to another poor kid, I understand what it's like to make your own and to be able to grow something and to be able to, at a certain point, turn around and give back. And you've mentioned the word philanthropy at least 3 or 4 times in this conversation. And I'm assuming based on that transaction of that deal on 10/10/10, which could have been 10/10/10/10, what changed for you in terms of the power and the meaningfulness that you're able to give back? What were some of the things that you did differently in terms of your philanthropy then?
Literally, it was next level. For instance, my dental school calls me up. This was about a month before this happened, and said, hey, Doc, we have a naming opportunity at the dental school for the auditorium. Like, I didn't even know what this meant. Like, I grew up poor. Like, well, what do you mean a naming? They said, well, we would like to name the auditorium after you. I'm like, wow, okay, that's cool. I didn't know what it was going to cost. I'm like, that's cool. Then they told me. I said, okay, that's a lot of money. And the only way that I could do this would be if I sell my company. They said, great. So I go, well, wait, if you put my name on there and I don't sell my company, are you going to take my name off? Because that would be embarrassing. No, we have faith in you. Well, fortunately, it worked out. So when you go to University of the Pacific Dental School and you walk in, you see the Dorfman Hall. Now, that would have never happened prior to me selling the company. I started the LEAP Foundation. It is a motivational leadership program. It is a nonprofit. I personally fund a very, very large part of it every year. My kids and I built a clinic in the Dominican Republic where we treat orphans and kids that are, underprivileged. I mean, there's a lot of great things. The best part of making money is what you can do to make the world better, not the toys you can buy yourself. I'm not like a big toy guy. I just don't do that.
Love it, brother. I love the mission. I love the calling to give back. And then honestly, when you're put into a position to return, whether you call it the universe, fate, God, whether you give back and you pour back into people, and then karma kicks in, and then you're set on a trajectory that's a beautiful journey in life. And so one of the last pieces I want to touch on before we jump off here is every entrepreneur that I know that does really well is focused on multiple things. One of them is health and wellness. And you're in the beauty industry, you're in the cosmetic industry, but it also health and wellness plays into that because there's a lot of biology that plays into the health of your mouth. And I'm a big biohacking nerd, if you will. And I've scoped out your social media and I can tell that you hit the gym more than a couple times a week. Talk a little bit about what health and wellness means to you personally and how that helps you in your daily missions.
It's funny. I speak to dental students all over the world. And I always put a segment in my presentation saying, look, you need to take care of yourself. Dentistry is one of the most physically demanding professions in the world. And people don't realize it between your back and your neck. In fact, that's why I became as fit as I am. In dental school, I started having neck problems and back problems. I'm like, wow, how am I going to do this the rest of my life? And finally, I started finding out that when I worked out more and more and more, I felt better. And I can't be a dentist if I don't go to the gym every day and just work out and keep my muscles strong and in balance. And so the flip side is, I just did a big photo shoot for GQ magazine on fitness for guys over 60. They asked me to do another one. I'm shooting it this weekend, so I'm raring to go. And it's everything. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So take care of yourself. As hard as you work, I always take an hour a day to move. Motion is lotion, and you got to move and you got to exercise and you got to stay active, or else it's all for naught.
You're in the industry somewhat complementative to what I do. I'm a wealth manager. I'm a fiduciary. So I deal with high net worth individuals, and there's levels to that game, right? You're working with some of the highest net worth individuals in the world. And I know personally from my client family, the people that I work with, they would trade every single nickel and then some if their health wasn't in alignment with where they wanted to be. If they found out they had a bad diagnosis, or they would give away every penny and find out anything that they could do to get healthy again. So I really, truly believe in it. And personally, I'm a huge health and wellness advocate. Really quick, what's some of your protocols when it comes to nutrition and working out and eating right and sleeping right? Do you have any thought leaders that you follow, or are you just kind of tried and true? Just do the hour a day and eat right, sleep right, good to go?
Yeah, I just listen to my body. I'm not on any special diet. I just don't eat crap. I eat healthy food, and I work out for about an hour a day. I am the most gifted sleeper. That's just a gift, honestly. I'm 62 years old. In my entire life, I've never had a bad night's sleep. Not one. Not one. I've never, ever, ever laid in bed and tossed and turned. I'm like a machine, honestly. I lay down, it's just lights out. I sleep really well, and I wake up in the morning and I'm good to go. So I don't know. I can't give you any magical tips. I'm like a robot. I've always just done what I'm supposed to do. That's just the way I'm programmed, I guess. I don't know.
Consistency is the mother of success. And it sounds like with your hard work, that probably leaves you enough gas to get through the day. But at the end of the night, you're ready to go to sleep, brother. But I want to be the first one from the Jesse T Show audience to say thank you so much for who you are, what you do. Keep shining your light in the world. Keep touching people. And we'll do everything on our end to make sure that the few people that need to hear about you. But he's the amazing, the mighty, the powerful Dr. Bill Dorfman. I'm Jesse T. Be sure to catch us on next week's episode of the Jesse T Show.